from belly. JT life, I press a button, I go and dready. It get ugly as Freddy when it come to the Fetty. Niggas can light, but everything about me heavy.
I said everything about me heavy. 30 inside this clip, and for sure I'ma hold it steady. Alright. I say everything about me heavy. 150 on webs and about 40 more on this basic, nigga. Riding with the.
Why, this is Give It Some Raw podcast, where I say the stuff you guys are scared to say. And if you feel played, as always, debate your mom. This is your host, Fresh, of course, and I have a super special guest here with me. Introduce yourself to the people and tell them where they can find you at on the socials.
Yes, this is Darren Walker. On IG, you can find me at Darren Walker 504. On Facebook, Darren Walker. And most importantly, on Bean, the Bean Now app, Darren Walker 504.
Yes, please go and download Bean. I'm already on there. I'm already connecting with people. It's really, really dope. I'm super excited to speak with you. Given that you're a busy man, so I'm like, he just took the time to accept my interview. So I feel like, I don't know. It's like what's the moment what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It's like a golden moment for me because I really respect everything that you are doing for us as a community. So, yes. So I entitled this episode Self-Made. And I'm eager to dig into like everything you're doing with the Bean app. So what inspired you to enter into the technology field?
What inspired me to enter tech was it had a lot of resemblances to real estate, and real estate was my first passion, and it's still my main passion, right? Like, but I look at tech as digital real estate, and I started seeing that in every space, it was always okay for us to be a subgroup, but no one ever felt comfortable with us being owners of the platform. And so I would talk in terms of that we could own this, or we could control this, or we could kind of have our own story and kind of control our own narrative. It's almost like the pushback was I was thinking too big, or, we have Black Twitter. And I'm like, well, does Black Twitter pay you dividends every quarter?
Okay.
And thank God for Black Twitter. Thank God for all that it's accomplished and, whatever. But in terms of ownership, I didn't see that we had, a footprint there, but yet we were just consuming the space to pieces. Like we were the reason that they were thriving, but yet we didn't have any ownership. So I'm like, you know what, man? Like, we could do this. And I just saw it as digital real estate, and how could I leverage my knowledge of, tangible real estate into this tech space.
Right. That's so dope. I agree with everything you said. That's true. Like, Black Twitter is making y'all a killing, so to take that and say, hey, I want to have some ownership, that's really, really dope.
Yeah.
So throughout your upbringing, did you have anyone who inspired you as far as the technology goes, or even with the real estate?
Yeah, so not on the technology front as much. On the real estate, one of my dad's friends owned a bunch of property, and he was the first one to kind of give me game in terms of, man, listen, it's not about, at that time I'm 19 years old, and, I just wanted the latest of everything, and my identity was wrapped up in brands, and that made me feel valued,
Yes, definitely agree.
Man, dude, it's not doing that. He's like showing me, if you put your money in real estate, how it's going to appreciate, and, really showing me how to build wealth. Mm-hmm. And so he was definitely, in terms of business, someone that I looked up to, helped me buy one of my first properties that I got involved with. So, he was definitely, in terms of business, his name was John Henderson, and was a big part of my life. Apart from that, I would say, like, just in terms of a role model, my dad was definitely, and still to this day, my role model in terms of a man, integrity, how you lead your life,
That's dope. That's really, really dope. What cultivated the idea for Bean? What made you say, hey, let me do this? Because you could have easily did the same thing as Instagram or Facebook, just sharing regular day-by-day things. But you was like, no, I want Black economic advancement. Like, what made you say that?
My experiences. So I had a Series 6 and 63 investment license, and I was building my own financial practice. And I just saw how misrepresented, how underrepresented we were, and how misunderstood we were in the financial space. And I had people that were my peers that I could outsell. I was a better maybe negotiator. I understood some of the financial instruments better, but my community just wasn't there. So instead of me having the grandma who's rolling over an IRA or 401k that's worth $3 million, I'm having to explain to relatives the importance of just basic life insurance. And so the gap was so large, and then it became like, okay, if I'm going to succeed in this space, like I have to be able to find successful Black entrepreneurs because they're the ones that's going to trust me with their investments, things like that. And they were just so hard to find. Wow. And so, like, I know they exist. Right. So how can I create an easy way to just bring this community together so that at a click of a button, I can find them. And it's not like, let's just say when Essence comes into town from New Orleans, people are passing out flyers saying, hey, this is where Black-owned restaurants are at. And I'm thinking, man, this time, this should all be digital. You know what I'm saying? Like, we should be able to, at a click of a button, find this stuff and not bring our culture to other platforms and then complain when they don't hire us. And then complain, they don't hire people in their tech department that look like us. Well, here's the thing, man. We can change that. It's not like we don't have the power. We have the power.
Exactly. And it's like, I'm to the point where it's like, I'm so tired of telling people like you have more power than you know. Like my 5-year-old literally asked me a while ago. She was like, Mommy, do you think I have superpowers? I'm like, you are a Black girl. We were born with superpowers. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I need her to know that now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, it's so hard to keep trying to change a mindset. I think that's the hardest thing for me. Like, I think that's why I'm trying to do this platform so that I can show people like, hey, there are people who look like us, who have the mindset that I want to own. This is how you can own that. Don't have an issue with helping you, So this is just, it's really dope. It's really dope to see everything that you're doing.
But you said something that's really big. That mindset part is so critical. Mm-hmm. It's like, without that changing, nothing really changes. And that's why, to go back to being, like, I feel like it was important to create something where we can see it. Because I say that, if you can see it, you can be it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you can have stories on top of stories where these success stories of, we call them I am being stories, where people are sharing, how they got to where they are and their perspective about life and, just their progress, their story. I think that it just empowers the next generation.
Definitely. Because I'm like, man, I so don't want to have to be dead and gone to kind of see a change. It seems like that's where we're at, but it's like now that you've created this, it kind of opens my mind and gives me hope. Like, okay, no, I don't have to be dead and gone. Like, I can see changes right now, see people doing things for the community, which is, like, again, really, really dope. Like, I'm really proud of you. I don't even know you, and I'm so proud. Like, I'm just so proud. Like, this is just a proud moment to be Black right now for me, because we like have our own, app. Our own, this is our own, like literally owned by someone who looks like me, and it's dope that I can say, hey, tell my daughter, and it's just, I'm just excited. I'm just excited for the whole idea of being. I really am. So how long was the process for you in the creative mode? For any entrepreneurs who say, hey, I'm thinking about doing an app or I want to get into the tech field. So how, what were some of the trial and errors and how did that work out for you?
So Bean has kind of a unique story in that it's been, this is not normal in terms of, well, it is and it isn't, and I'll explain. My journey with Bean to get to this point has been 10 years. And it started as NOLA Black pages 10 years ago. And so as I grew as an entrepreneur, the concept grew. So 10 years ago, I'm 24 years old. I'm just trying to get my finances in order, just trying to get my stuff together. And all I could think about was just sort of a local concept. And I implemented it. It gained some traction. But Facebook and Instagram were just taking off at the time. And I had basically created a directory. And so I realized that a directory wasn't going to work. I needed something that was more dynamic. People wanted just a dynamic platform that just changes all the time. So as I had more success in real estate, and I grew, I had a green energy company that did well. But what I started realizing is that, and I was doing business in Oklahoma as well as in Louisiana, and I'm starting to realize that the issues that I thought was very prevalent in New Orleans were not just a local or a regional issue, but I was running into it on a national level. That when I'm dealing with banks in Oklahoma, they're having issues with me, but not my business partner who's white. And I'm just kind of having these stories, and I'm like, okay, what started as NOLA Black Pages evolved into Beam, which was the first time I did it was 5 years ago. Put up $50,000 of my own money. But what I realized was my first time taking on a tech project of that magnitude, and we basically got off the runway. We were underfunded in terms of how much of my personal capital I could put into the company, and in terms of my tech team, I had never built anything like this before. So I ended up, we launched in a lot of ways within like 60 days. I mean, I feel like we kind of blew up, and not in a good way. And so I ended up basically kind of cutting it down and saying that it was going to serve as a proof of concept. In that, you know, I felt like I had failed my community in a way, and I also felt like they had failed me because the support just wasn't there. But at the same time, the platform wasn't what Beam is today. It was a web app. It was buggy. It wasn't a great experience. So that was 5 years ago. I ended up getting a television show on DIY Network called Louisiana Flippin' News. And my wife and I traveled Louisiana flipping houses, what have you. And what I found is that the more success I had, the more Beam became, we need this. And so I was burying Beam because Beam had hurt me. Like I spent $50 grand and had nothing to show for it but t-shirts and a box of stickers underneath my stairs. And I didn't want to hear about it. I'm like, you know what, every man for himself kind of a thing. And but I was always going to look out for my people, like to the extent that I could, but I wasn't going to build some sort of infrastructure.
I so feel you right about now. Like I'm listening, like that sounds like me with this podcast. But continue. I'm sorry.
You're good. And so I had a trip to Africa. We went to Morocco. I spent 3 weeks in Africa, and when I was in the desert, I had like this epiphany, and it was the most beautiful experience. One, I felt robbed because I thought my whole life Africa was this dirty place. People running around chasing animals, and to get there and see the intelligence, the beauty, the culture, everything, I felt robbed. And so I told my wife, I said, when I get back home, I'm going to relaunch Beam, and I'm going to take everything that I've learned over the last 8 years, 9 years, and I'm going to dump that into this new experience. Right. And so she's like, the hell you are. You just wasted $50,000.
Right. Get the hell out of here with it. Right.
That ain't going to happen. And so then we fought about it, like for a hot minute. We fought about it because I'm like, now I'm an entrepreneur. Don't try to box me up. Like, what I'm saying?
Right.
And, but then I told her, I said, listen, I have almost a decade in this thing. There's things we can do differently that will ensure our success. And so I implemented those things. One of those was doing a crowd raise. So basically, in terms of equity, in terms of ownership, Beam, people now can have an equity stock in Beam. And so in order to do that, you have to go through the SEC's process. So I went through their process, and my users, the users of Beam can go and buy stock in the company now. And so that changes the game. Because now they can have a direct impact on the value of the stock.
That's so dope.
So look, wherever you post your data, if I post on Beam and I'm a shareholder, I know that I'm directly impacting the value. So I did that, hired a better team. I also grew in terms of my personal development, my leadership. So having said all that, we came full circle with this thing, and we launched the beta version in November and gained some good traction. And But the last month we have just been growing, at almost over 100% a day. I mean, it's just been exponential growth.
That's so dope. I mean, I've been telling anybody who has ears, like, hey, did you? Like, I need you right now. No, let me show you. I'm going to download it myself. If you don't know how to do it, I'm going to do it for you so that you can get on here, because this is something that we need. Like, as far as the financial literacy component, like, I'm kind of doing the same thing, like, as far as educating myself to educate other people, because it's like, we need it. This is what we need. You are absolutely right.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. And it's like, and let me tell you that, I mean, the thing is, throughout that time, when I told my wife when I was in Africa, I said, no matter how successful I become personally, I will never feel okay if I know that I did not do my part to lay out some sort of digital infrastructure that can pull other people in.
Facts. Facts.
You know what I'm saying? 'Cause
Facts.
I'm always going to feel like I'm misunderstood, or even if I'm not personally misunderstood, I'm going to feel like my people are misunderstood.
Facts.
And then I got to start explaining why y'all don't understand what the deal is. You know what I mean? So It's like, I'm like, you know what? Instead of me doing that, and let me just focus my attention on building something that's a good experience, that celebrates our culture, that celebrates our economic, that empowers us, and we're going to do it.
Yes, I am so here for, like, you don't understand how excited I am. Like, I could just keep saying that because I don't know what else to say. Like, I'm just super excited to see people that look like me, like, thriving. Like, white man, you tried it, but it's not happening over here. Like, we are thriving with or without. And the best thing is without you. Like, I'm not looking to you for any handouts. Like, I'm doing this on my own. And I think that is the dopest part of it.
Yeah.
If you could help any other young entrepreneurs with any advice, if they're doing what you're doing in any lane as far as entrepreneurship goes, what advice would you give them?
I would say and that's a really loaded question.
Yes.
But I would say some of the things that helped me, and I'll give a few because that's a big one, big question. So one, I would say just a commitment to learning. So get you some books, go to the library, get online, YouTube, but a commitment to learning about personal development, about your credit, financial matters. And then I would also say in your early years, let's say, we're talking about real young entrepreneurs, 18 to 21, it's okay to experiment with different companies, different opportunities. But I think once in your early 20s, especially if you start a company or a brand, try to find one lane that you can run in and own that lane, and don't deviate when you see others maybe getting out further ahead than you that are in other lanes. Because a lot of times what ends up happening is people, they jump from lane to lane to lane. Like when I was a teenager and I was in my early 20s, I was chasing the bag, I was chasing the money, and every time I saw somebody doing something different and it looked like they were making more progress than I was, then I dropped what I was doing to go try that, and then I just lost all the time that I put in the last thing.
Right. And wonder why you can't find your niche, because you're hopping into, Yep.
You're not too much. So stay in your lane, put your work in, because like right now, there's and I'm here for everybody that wants to move our culture forward. But you also see that there's a lot of sort of cash grab opportunity in our community where everybody wants to have a bean now, but not realizing, man, I've been on bean before George Floyd died. I've been on bean before.
Factories. Facts.
Like, this is not, I'm not trying to ride a trend. This is 10 years that we've been laying this groundwork. So my advice would be, it's sort of a tension between trying new things, but also when you find something you love, don't give up on it just because it gets hard. Reinvent yourself within the same space. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How can I do this better? How can I get better, essentially? And I find that they'll have more success doing that than dropping it and then going to something else.
Definitely. I definitely agree. And I just wanted to touch on you going to Africa. I'm like, it seems that everyone who I've talked to who has been successful tell me the same thing. Like, I took a trip to Africa and I don't know what it was, but I just had this epiphany. Like, this is what I need to be doing. It's like a life changing experience. So, bucket
Yes.
list, Africa. Let me go ahead and get that going. But I definitely feel you because my birthday is Juneteenth. My birthday's been Juneteenth for 20 years now. So it's like I didn't have a choice. My aunts were Black Panthers in New Orleans. Like I didn't have a choice in the what I'm choosing to do and how I speak for our people. So it kind of
Yeah.
annoys me when it's like, come on, we've been here. Don't just because someone passed. Let's
Right.
keep the ball rolling, past, okay, let's come together outside of tragedy. Let's try to,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I definitely understand all your points that you hit. So, my last question, what, if any, what other apps you may have in the works or how's that going?
Yeah, so no other apps in the works right now.
Yes.
We have our hands full with Bean. Is like because within Bean, I mean, you're talking about almost 5 companies or more in terms of we're about to roll out, the shopping feature. So now you won't have to leave off of Bean. So if I want to book the services, I can book it on Bean, and live streaming, for meetings. So we're rolling out several
That's
products.
dope. That's really dope.
We're really excited about it. So no, I would say at this time I don't have anything on the horizon. I do have a song though that's coming out.
Come on, songs.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of this month, it's called "A Payout Is Due," and
Sure
and so
is. Give me I want my mule. I want everything. I want it all.
yeah. So that'll be out later this month. Pretty excited about that. Actually, I had never written anything my whole life, but ironically enough, coming back from that trip from Africa, while literally flying over the Atlantic, I wrote the lyrics to this song that was like 3 years ago. And now it's all just coming together for this time. And it's about reparations. And got a guy named Stizzle. He's an independent artist. He raps a lot with Lecrae and some other guys. Really, really solid dude, but he brought it, and I can't wait to hear it.
I can't wait either. That would be dope. I wish we had it so it can be the intro and outro to this chapter. That would have been really, really dope. But we can still moving forward in the other chapters. Be like, hey, remember you said you had that song? Need that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Need to use that. Yes. Well, I appreciate you. And just let the people know again where they can find you on the socials. Download Bean. It's available on Apple and Android.
Yes. So you can go to the Google Play Store, and the iOS Apple Store, and it's Bean Now. So the Bean Now app. You can follow me, Darren Walker 504, across Instagram and the Bean Now network.
Yes. You give us in New Orleans so much to brag about. I'm so grateful for this.
Oh, I got to plug one more thing.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But I have a queso cheese product. It's an all natural product that's it's in Rouse's, it's in Whole Foods.
Awesome.
It's in every major chain in Louisiana. And so if you're looking for a great snack for your party, it's delicious. It's amazing. And we've been like the number one seller in the what do you call it, the dairy and queso section. And so it's all natural, no GMO, no artificial flavors, and it's really good. It's called Zoe's Queso.
Zoe's queso. Now you're gonna have me banging on the man's version of queso. See, I play full now. Come on, Darren. I play full. Be like, I don't want that queso. That's the man's queso. But nah, that's dope. Cause I just said I love cheese. I'm trying to give up everything, but cheese, I don't really know if I can. So now I have some queso that I can deal. Thank you, Darren, for keeping me fat. Appreciate you. I was like, thank you for keeping me fat. Appreciate you.
Now here's the best part though. It's actually it's keto friendly. It's only 50 calories per serving.
Oh, okay.
It's legit.
I'm gonna overindulge in the chips and queso, but thank you for that, Darren. I appreciate it.
I just had to fill it out. It's poppin', crook. Yeah. Bravado. Whoa, whoa. Fuck a bitch with all my clothes on. No time for the slow songs. Move on and she prolong. Your man CD getting rolled on. Be blowing on the marriage shit louder than a trombone. Semi-automatic, never had to use my thumb bone. Rat-a-tat the strapper, smack a nigga to the ozone. Black on black, no pants, but get out well, bought it for long. Brother hold the pistol every time I roll the dice. Bunch of rellos rolled up, burn